Greetings and hello to you. So today I'm recording a YouTube video, which makes me happy because I always feel accomplished when I start doing it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing it. I promised myself I would, and I'm here. Okay, so last year, on like the 31st, I had recorded my first YouTube video. I had been procrastinating all that day. And I was like, you know what? I want to do this. And it doesn't have to be like some perfect version of this. And this will be a practice and imperfection for me. And along the way, it became a practice of perfection for me. Like, I wanted to get it right. I wanted to record it right. And then I kind of did like halfway. Like I was trying to do it well, very well, or whatever, watching other people's YouTube videos and like figuring out how I feel like I need to do it. But all of that made me not do it as consistently as I wanted to. So I'm here, back on that note of not trying to do it right. So I have stuff to tell you guys. So for the people, this is going to have a couple different themes in it, okay? First theme is the traveling abroad. People who want to travel abroad, live in Spain for a year, teach abroad, teach in Spain for a year. This is to those people. There are some things to be aware of when you move abroad. And one of the best tips I think I got when I was about to move is that when you decide to go overseas, do your thing, live your best life, all that, while you are living your best life, while you are living your lives in the U.S. or wherever you're from will continue to go on in your friend's life, in your family's life, in your coworker's life. I don't know, whoever you keep in touch with or don't keep in touch with, their lives will continue to go on. And so there will be birthdays that'll happen, and you might not get to go. There'll be people who are getting married. You might not be able to like attend. There will be babies being born. And there are people who will pass away, and you won't be there. Unless you got it like that and you hop on a plane and you back. But sometimes it's more than money. It's just it doesn't match up, like your timetables. So this is something to be like aware of, that this happens. And I say this because my grandfather passed away this week, and that's wild to say. It's wild, man. I've known that man all my life. Like, I've known him very well. Like, you know, he's a staple. Like, he was I lived very close to him all my life. Not all my life, but the majority, since I was like 10. When I was 10, I moved in with him, and like I lived with my cousins and my grandparents. And ever since then, I lived within like pretty much 15 minutes from him. I'm going off the track. There was a time he was living in Maryland, and there's a time he was living in Florida. But the majority of my life, I lived within 20 minutes of him. And so he was very much there, and now he's not. And I think that's wild. And I'm here. And my family is there, telling stories about him, blah, 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 and jokes and blah, blah, blah. Let me let you know that man was the funniest man I've ever met. He was so funny. He was honestly a character. He's just a very distinct person that had a very distinct flavor about him, that it's like, once that flavor is gone, it's like, I will say remnants of him in like all of my family members, and I can see it, but it's not as potent as in the same person as it is diluted between like 12 people, right? So you won't feel the flavor as strong. And so it's like, I'll still have remnants of it, but it won't be the same as having him. And I sincerely would love to be there with my family as we talk about him and like have his jokes and play spades and like just vibe off like the joy that was my grandfather. So be aware that there are moments you will miss out on. So what is the acronym? The missing out acronym, like fear of missing out, FOU. There's an acronym that has to do with the fear of missing out. Anyway, so like, dang, it came through my head and flew by, and I almost had it. Fob. Anyway, let that go because it'll hurt you if you like hold it in here. Like you will miss out. Understand that. To get one thing, you will miss out on another thing. So be prepared. But if you were there, you miss out on something here. So there's no way to avoid missing out on something at some point in your life. Now there are things you would rather not miss out on, like this. Being there, like, but anyway, letting you know that, right? Going on to the next subject, which is a very different subject. So, in this past year, I have been like, how do I describe it? Fighting or frustrated with God. Very frustrated with God. And my passion for reading the Bible dispensed. It went away. It wasn't there. I was just like, whatever, I'm over it. But this past week, it has returned. And thankfully, I reconnected with an old friend. And like, in that conversation, in the conversations that have been occurring, I've been able to like spark that fire that I had when it came to the Bible. And so on that note, I want to tell y'all about like my reading today. Like, so when I if you continue to watch my videos, which I suggest you do. In fact, you can like this video. You can even subscribe to my channel. Again, you can like this video. You should do it. You can subscribe. Okay. Now that you've done that, thank you guys. Appreciate it. As you continue to watch my videos, you'll know like when I talk about the Bible, I'm not talking about it in the same way it's normally like reverence. I do reverence the Bible, but I look at it like I like literature, and I look at it like a really cool piece of literature, and that to me is not saying I'm not taking away from its power. I'm not saying I look at it solely as a piece of literature, because there are people who look at it as like, oh, this is a cool piece of literature. Not saying I really believe in it and whatnot. That's not what I'm saying. I do believe it. I also think it's a very cool piece of literature to be honest. And when you analyze it, like, literature is really funny. So, also just interesting. So when I read it, I really like the stories in the Old Testament. I also like the lessons in the New Testament. I like the lessons in the New Testament. In the New Testament, it's like someone doing TED Talks to me. Like, just getting to the point, telling you what it is. In the Old Testament, they're telling you stories. Okay. I guess I gotta move. So in the Old Testament, they're telling you stories that like allude to the point. In the New Testament, they're pretty much telling you the point. But Jesus, he brings the parables, which the stories, to get to the point. Anyway, so I'm reading Genesis, or I didn't. Sometimes I like to skip past Genesis because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna finish this sentence. Just give me a second. I like reading the stories. Genesis sometimes it's a huge book. Sometimes I'm like, damn, I don't want to read Genesis again. I know these stories very well. I just want to go to the next one. And then I definitely want to skip the creation story sometimes. I'm like, I don't feel like reading this again. Because while I think it's very cool, it's hard to conceptualize. It's like, I cannot analyze this because, like, there's so many questions. It can bring questions that I can't answer, which will lead to frustration. So I just try to skip the creation story. But today I didn't do that. I read the creation story, and this is all about this spurt of speaking is about the creation story. And I read the first 7 books of the Bible, but I was listening to audio, so I really got the first 3 books of the Bible. So not books, chapters of Genesis. So I read Genesis, or I listened to Genesis 1 through 7. And I'm going to talk about specifically Genesis, like probably 1 to 3. So, if you haven't listened to Genesis or read Genesis 1 through 3, I think you should before listening to this, because I'm not exactly like, I'm responding in the assumption that you've read it before. So there are things that I have known a lot, but it's interesting listening again. I'm gonna sit down now. Okay. So if you look at the days that it was created, so the creation story shows how God created the world in 6 days, right? And then on the 7th day he rested. If you look at the first 6 days, it's like at the end of each day, like it repeats, and that was the evening and the morning was a day, basically. And the evening and the morning was a day. And the evening and the morning was a day. And it just growing up Seventh-day Adventist, we rested on the Sabbath day. And so that would be Saturday. And so it wasn't just Saturday though. From sunset Friday, from sunset to sunset Saturday was the resting. And that resting looked like not watching TV or not watching secular TV or TV that didn't have specifically to do with God, or not going to parties, or not going to basketball games or games, and not going to work, and resting, right? Not doing things that you would normally do throughout the week. And I went to public school a lot in my life, so I had to explain a lot to people, like, oh, I can't go to this basketball game, oh, I can't go to this or whatever. This is my younger years because, yeah, anyway, but that confused my friends because they were like, but if you rest on Saturday, why can't you go Friday night? And I was like, I would just kind of recite the line, oh, because the sunset, the Sabbath starts at sunset. That was essentially what I said. I didn't really go too deep. But listening to that, I'm like, the way it is said is the evening and the morning. So it says evening first and then morning. I'm going to pause y'all real quick. Sorry, some chatty people were walking by. So it said the evening and the morning. And so the evening being the beginning of the day, and the morning being the end of the day. And then it says the evening and the morning, and that was the day. And I'm like, I have never... my mom says it all the time. She says it all the time. On New Year's, she'd be like... The new year started when the sun set. So I have heard this so many times, but I wasn't really, or even on my birthday, she'd be like, my birthday really started when the sun set. So I have heard her say that several times, and she's like, we've talked about this, but hearing it, I've never thought the sunset, evening is now the beginning of another day. I've never looked at it as the evening is the first part of the day and the morning is the second part of the day. And I was just like, oh, that's such a and I'm like, and so I was really pondering over this. I'm like, well, that's weird. If that would be the case, then but we're sleeping in the evening. Wouldn't that be the end of a day? And then I was like, wow, so no, not really. I guess it doesn't have to be. Like, so then I was like, well, why do we have to sleep at the end of the day? And it was like, well, this is a creation story. So like, it wasn't like when Adam was created, he was tired because he didn't do nothing. He just got created. So like, well, that kind of negates the point I'm about to make right now. But like, the beginning of our days essentially start with rest. So like if the evening is the beginning of the day and the morning is the end of the day, it's like your day starts with rest. You rest like in the wee hours of the what we consider morning, and then when the sun comes up, we work. We put it in energy, and then we start our next day with rest, and then we go about it with work, and then we start we end the day with work, and then we start our next day with rest. Anyway, interesting concept. Everything I'm about to say here is like just looking at things like that are normal to us, but in a different way. Okay, so there's that. Then it says that like he created light. I didn't do that in order. Actually, this part comes first. It was like no. I'm gonna go all the way back to the beginning. It's like, in the beginning, there was a vast emptiness. And God looked over the face of the waters and basically decided he wanted to create something. And I'm like, wow, that's so interesting. Like, water existed before the creation of the world. Like, water, a resource that we like dismiss. I don't want to drink that water, nasty. Like, but it's been here before our world was created. Like, it was there. Like, I'm like, who created water? Because what God did was he separated the water. It didn't say that he created the water. I'm not saying that he didn't create water. It just doesn't say that God created the water. Like, the water was already created when the Bible starts, and then God created the world. So maybe he created the water a long time ago, before that. But it says he was looking at the water. He was like, he decided to like create a world. And then the world that he created, like in his creation of the world, he like split the water, and in the middle of the water he put like what is it called, expanse, and the expanse is the sky. And so I'm like, so like we have water on here, and then the water that was on the earth, he separated the water and had land, and then he made the other water like seas. So it's like there was water, he created an expanse that split the water, and then he split the water that was on the bottom of the expanse, and he made the land, and then he made the seas. But I'm like, so does that mean there's water above us? Like a whole layer of like water above the sky. I was like, that's so interesting. And then I started thinking about the water cycle. I'm like, is there like a big pool up there, and then it rains, and then the water evaporates and goes back to the pool up there, and it comes back down? Anyway, so these are just things I was thinking about. What else did I find interesting? Oh, it said he created light. And I think the creation of light became before the sky. I'm not sure. But then it was like he created light, and then he separated the light from the darkness. But it says he created light, and then like because he was in the darkness, and then he said, and then he said, let there be light, and then he separated light from the darkness. So I'm like, was there a point in time when light and darkness coexisted, and then he separated it? Another question. What are other interesting things that I like come upon where I read? Yeah, so those were the things that I really found like very intriguing. And then I just started thinking about how old Adam was. I was like, dang, he was 930 years old when he died. 930 years old when he died. My grandpa was basically 83. His birthday's Friday. I'm like, wow. Oh, that was the last thing. Because I was thinking about why it became, like, because what led me to the last point is because, so when God was looking, it was like God was looking at the human and he was like, man, these people, they are wild. They're like evil. They're not going to be out here living to 930 no more. He cut their lifespan back to 120. And I guess, now we're down to about a 100. Really, maybe 90. I don't know. But, Betty White almost got there to 100. So, yeah, I'll just put it at 100, whatever. So, like, then I was thinking, like, where did evilness come from? Because this is why I was thinking that, because it was like the tree of good and evil, and God didn't want Adam and Eve to eat the tree of good and evil. Cool. Eat from the tree of good and evil, because then they would know good and evil. But I'm like, where did evil come from? Like, did Satan invent evil? Like, was there evil before Satan? Or once Satan rebelled in heaven and took his squad of like 1/3 of the angels down to like earth, is that what God meant when he was like, then they would know good and evil? Like the evil that Satan brought. So like jealousy, like that's where it started with Satan, like his jealousy. So like, you know how people say if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, did it fall or does it exist? I don't know that. I don't even know why. I know why I use that, but like that kind of on the steps of that, like if no one was ever jealous, did jealousy exist? Like before Satan became jealous, did jealousy exist? Or did Satan invent jealousy? And then that's when that feeling arose in him, it became a thing. These are my questions, okay? So, yeah, thanks for listening. And let me know in the comment sections your thoughts, like your theories. I'm not looking for like solid answers here to my questions. Just like if my curiosity piqued your curiosity anyway, or you were reading the New Testament, not the New Testament, but you were reading the creation story and something along that lines piqued your curiosity, let me know, okay? So you guys spend time with your grandparents. Talk to them. Record them. Know their story, because they have a story. They were whole people before they became parents and before they became grandparents. Know their story, because at any point in time, your chance to get to know it may be gone. I love you guys.